Hello, Miss Lisa. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and you are feeling so good going into this week and going into your cycle and all the things. Let's get into your form and your nutrition and all the things. So, looks like you had honestly like a pretty solid week. We're going to talk a little bit about the balancing that you're trying to do and that you were trying to figure out. And like you said, you tried some workouts that really didn't jive, especially going into your cycle. I find that's the last time that I try new workouts because I'm just like not at my peak, right? Like I hope that makes sense. So maybe if they are something that you would try, like if you didn't drive this week, maybe try them in 2 weeks' time and see if they're still not for you. I don't know what you did differently. I don't know what kind of style of workouts you did, but maybe something to just give yourself credit for is that right now is a hard time to try something new because you're not going to feel solid in it. You're not going to feel really energetic or like really focused in that sense. So if that's just perspective, something to think about. Anyways, I'm glad to see that you got so much more sleep this week. And that I saw that instantly. I was like, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Like, damn, like that's so good for you. I'm so stoked to see that for you. And to have had your energy improve dramatically because of it. So lots of wins on that behalf. And so learnings, so much value in what you had to share there. I don't know what country I'm from, but so much value that you had to share there of like, it's best to pre-track your food so that you can see, okay, where are the gaps? Where am I missing things? What more do I need of? What less do I need throughout the day? So that you can kind of see it. It's hard if you track it as you go. And then you're like, or you track at the end of the day because it's really easy to be like, oh shit, I overdid this. Or being like, well, I thought I had enough protein, but I ate so much carbohydrates and I didn't even recognize it, right? Like it's really easy to do those things. And so it's really valuable to have that perspective of like, okay, like if I can just pre-track, it's going to make it easier for me to stay on track. And especially when things like barbecues and fun events come up, right? Like knowing that it's summer, like we're coming into summer, which is going to be more of those random events where it's going to be like, hey, you want to come over for a barbecue or let's get together for a beach night. Like, you know what I mean? Like those events more than any other time of year, it's right now that's going to come up. So having that knowledge for yourself that this is the time to start tracking before. Like if you can pre-track your day and you're like, okay, I pre-tracked my breakfast, dinner, and lunch because I know for sure those are the things I'm going to have. I know I'm going to have cottage cheese and like an example, like, okay, I'm going to have yogurt and protein powder mixed in and some Harvest Crunch. Then you know what a snack's going to be. And you can kind of break it down that way. You can see, okay, where am I still missing gaps? And then you can go, okay, I still have enough room in my like goals for the day for energy wise and for my body to still be in more of a deficit of calories slightly and carbohydrates slightly that I still have room for that apple or blueberries instead because they're lower carbohydrate. Like, you know what I mean? Like being mindful of those things, it gives you the peace of mind. And really what I find it does is it gives you more information. And so like I will always relate it back to nursing because that's where I started too, right? Like, and I know it's something that connects for you. It'd be like not doing a full assessment on somebody and like not having a full assessment done and then them providing the information to you about like their symptoms and all those things. And then you're going, okay, well, I need to have more information before we can make actual decisions on action plans and what we're going to do forward and all that kind of stuff. Like you need the information so you can take action, right? Like it's the same thing with our food. It's like we just need the information so that we know what actions to take next, as in what we're going to consume, what we're not going to consume, what we're going to say yes to, what we're going to say not this time to, right? Like saying not this time to cupcakes and cake and the other things that you were talking about, like to be able to go, you know what, that's not going to serve where I'm at right now. It's not going to move me forward. And it's not going to support my goals. Whereas if like, of course, if you knew that you were going to that event, maybe you would have shifted your macros a little bit and had less carbohydrates in the day so that you could enjoy those things in the evening. But at the end of the day, did you miss out? You get to answer that. But what I have found as somebody that has had to say no to a lot of those things for a long time because of my own digestive health is that more often than not, what ends up happening is I miss out for about 3 minutes while everybody else is just like mowing down on the donut or on the cupcake. And then I'm like, I wish I could have that. And then they're done their cupcake and it's over and I am just fine. And I don't feel uncomfortable. Like, of course, this is coming from a perspective of somebody that struggles when I eat those things, right? So like that's something to keep in mind is like that saying no isn't isn't just saying no for eternity. It's saying no for that 3 minutes of like instant satisfaction and then carrying on with your life. And so hopefully that helps sometimes too. But again, like it's hard to have like yourself prepped for that unintended event in your room in your macros, which just means that there might be a little bit more no's and you choose to have like you had like the venison burger and you choose to have like the smokies and the fruit rather than having the more we're going to call space more processed food that's available to you, right? So that's something that I like thought was so valuable for you to just like make that connection of like, if I can track ahead of time, I know what I'm going into as to what is going to work well for my goals that day. So brilliant. With you feeling like, you know, there's two other things that you shared that I was like, I want to just like touch on these. One was the letting go of the need to be perfect and allowing yourself to be a human being and go, okay, now how do I adjust? You know, like looking at your macros from this week, like you're pretty solid. There's like a little bit, and we're going to talk about it. There's 3 days that things that shifted quite a bit. And we're going to talk about that because I can see what's going on a little bit. And not maybe you can tell me better as to how you experienced this. But for the most part, you were like on par, right? So you were on par with your protein, on par with your carbohydrates, on par with your calorie goal. And then there's a little bit of shifting in your fats. But again, those are on the days that I'm going to talk about. Every other day, like you were within 1 to 5 grams of everything. Like you were solid. So keep that in the back of your mind. Like you are just a human being and you're doing a great job and really trying to dial this back in. So this is something else to remember when it comes to shifting, because like you said before, you know, like you can't do big calorie deficits because it really fucks with your head. And so because of that, how long have you been just free range in it, right? Like just being like, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to have the foods. I'm training really hard. I need the fuel, like all of those kind of conversations. Now you're dialing it back in. It's only been 2 weeks that you've been doing that. Like that's it. It's only been 2 weeks. And so give yourself some credit in the fact that it takes time to really reestablish the boundaries in not only like what you allow for yourself, but also in the sense of like what you're craving and what your body is demanding and what your body is used to having that it no longer is having. And now it's like, what the fuck is that? Right? Like, so really be mindful of the fact that like you're doing a really good job, especially knowing that you're coming back into this dialing in phase for only 2 weeks. Okay. So that's that. And then the other piece you were talking about is around your cycle. So you did a damn good job being around your cycle. It's really easy to have that really mess with you a little bit because we do start to crave things a little bit more, right? So one of the biggest things I'm going to recommend based off of knowing that you struggle with like the cravings of chocolate, specifically around your cycle, is make sure that you're taking a magnesium supplement and that you are taking it even extra around your cycle. So like I take a magnesium supplement. I love Arbonne's magnesium supplement. It's easy. It tastes delicious. I drink it in my water. It gets my water intake in. Like love that for me. I highly recommend it to pretty much everybody because it's one of the most underrated products that we have in my opinion, but it's one of the best specifically for cycles around like cramping, like cravings, all those things. So anyways, when I don't have my magnesium, I find my cycle to be A, uncomfortable, a lot more uncomfortable in my body, but B, I find my cravings to be way more wild. Like when I'm not taking magnesium, I'm like, I could literally eat all the chocolate that you could ever put in front of me and it would still not be enough. But it's because I'm magnesium deficient around my cycle. Most of us are, right? Like we don't produce our own magnesium. We have to consume it. It is an essential vitamin or essential mineral, sorry. So we have to consume it, but around your cycles when you need it the most. And so keep that in the back of your mind. Like when you find yourself struggling with your cravings, okay, have I had magnesium today? No? Okay, I need to take a magnesium supplement. You can get magnesium from your foods for sure, but you're going to get more magnesium from a supplement. So I'm going to encourage you to do that, especially just knowing that for yourself. Like I said before, if you ever have questions like that I can support you in the products that I recommend and use, it's not because I just sell it, but because I genuinely am obsessed and love them. And I would never put something in my body that I wouldn't recommend to somebody else. Then just let me know and I'll send that information your way. But that's just something I want you to know and cover for yourself is get yourself a magnesium supplement. Now let's talk about your nutrition specifically. So you, like I said, you were dialed in, like you were within that 100 calories that I was even talking about at the beginning when I was like, if you have 1 to 200 in either direction, you're solid. And you were within that 100 for Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And most people, let's just call a spade. The weekend is the week end in their nutrition. It's when we go off the rails. Either we don't eat enough, or we overeat, or we eat way more shit, right? And even with going to the movie theater and having your Diet Coke and your popcorn and your M&Ms and all those things, you were still on par in your nutrition for that day. Like, keep that in the back of your mind. Like, that's stellar. Like, that's a really good job, and you should be really proud of that, because that is that fine balance, you know, like, you're not having to be perfect, but you're being a human being. You're enjoying that movie night out, whether that's with your family or just on a date night or going out with your girlfriends, whoever, whatever it is. But you still made it work in your goals for that day, which is so, so good. I love that for you. And you did such a good job, and you should feel real proud, real proud. Nutrition coach is so proud of you for that. So like I said, Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, you were solid. You were right on par with everything. And then Wednesday is the day that I reckon you were at the barbecue because of what your dinner looked like. So Wednesday you were above and beyond. Yeah. Like, you were at 2,400 calories, you were at 230 grams of of protein, 197 grams of carbs, 91 grams of fat. Again, it's not surprising if you're going out for dinner to an event like that where they have burgers and smokies and all the things. All those things are higher fat. They're going to have high level of carbs around, and you still were up in your protein. Like, I mean, obviously you're not, the goal isn't to have like excessive amounts of protein either, but like everything just went up. So like, really, this is not what I'm going to recommend that you do. I'm going to take a look at your numbers from that meal specifically. So I can because I would just want to see something really quick as I explain this. Because like, ideally, I'm looking at this just for a quick second. Okay. Yeah. Like, so even still, I was going to say, like, based off of your numbers, in theory, it would have been, even if you just went to that event, but you actually didn't eat anything, that would have been like on par. But you were still like, you were only at like, I don't know, 100 and like not even 110 grams of carbs. Like, so you were still low in everything at that point. And it would just look like shifting a little bit, you know, like choosing to have a rhubarb crisp instead of having the brownies with it. Like, that would be enough to just bring you back to where your normal carbohydrate level would be. Same with your smoky. Choosing to not have the smoky would have brought you back down to almost to your normal. So looking at this number, okay, looking at these, if you had the burger, cherries, and rhubarb crisp, that would have pulled everything down to about normal for you. So that's like going, okay, like all those little decisions, those are just the things that made a difference in those numbers. And again, it's not because one's bad or wrong. It's just looking at going, the data. What does the data say? And where could there be little adjustments to the formula to change the results, right? So that's how I'm looking at that one. But again, like, this is the reality of it, and going, okay, like, you don't know the carbohydrates when you're looking at the food on the table, right? You just don't. And so I would choose personally, like, to have like so you have your burger, smoky, cherries, 2-bite brownies, and strawberry rhubarb crisp, which I would always opt for that one because I love crisps above anything else, crisps and pies. So that's why I was like, keep that one in your life. But if you choose the brownies, you choose the brownies, right? But of all those things, I'm going, okay, what's the most nutrient dense? What's going to give me the most like bang for my buck of the macros, the nutrients, all those things? And it would be your burger has the most amount of nutrients in it for the meat options because it's going to be a whole food. And then the cherries are going to have the most amount of nutrients, right? So those two are the ones that I would keep. And then looking at the other three, it's going, okay, which ones do I want to add in? And this, because it's a smoky, they're going to have more fat, but the fact that it's a cheddar smoky, they're going to have extra fat, right? Like, again, not the end of the world. These are just things that you can go, like, looking at your food and going, okay, where do they meet me on my scale, knowing what I want and what I need from this meal, what's going to be my best option, right? So again, like, that's just something to really think about when you're going out. Then you can kind of strategically pick. Like, when I go out, say, for example, if I'm going to, if I were to stop at Tim Hortons and grab some sort of breakfast, so I would get maybe a sausage patty, eggs, and bacon, rather than getting like, so you can get that a la carte rather than getting a full breakfast sandwich, because I know the bread for some is not going to agree with me, and it's going to push me over my carbohydrates when I'd rather have an apple later than have that, because it just doesn't matter to me, right? So like, it's trying to figure that out for yourself. And then the next day you were lower on your carbs, you were pretty average in your fats, and you were lower in your everything else. Like you were pretty much at bang on for everything else. And then Friday we went back up again. And so it's a little bit of that shifting, right? And that's going to happen. That's going to be life. This is where the pre-planning and pre-tracking is really helpful that you were talking about. So there's that. Like honestly, I'm not saying that anything's wrong with this week's tracking at all. Like you did solid, and now it's just detail breakdown of like, okay, where could there be shifts and adjustments? And so my encouragement for you as you go into this week, because you're doing a really good job of being solid in these things, in your numbers, now it's about nutrient density. And so going, okay, what am I having and what nutrients is it bringing me? And some of these things are just going to be joy foods. That's it, right? Going to the movie theater, having popcorn, Coke Zero, and M&Ms, that's a joy food. That's like an enjoyment. And I totally respect that. But it's going, okay, every day, where are the nutrients coming from? When you have your yogurt and your protein powder, do you need the Harvest Crunch in it? That's more carbohydrates. If that's something that you want, then great. Or could you swap that out with blueberries? Because that's going to give you more, it's going to still be carbs, but it's going to be loaded with antioxidants and fiber and all those types of things, right? So taking a look at your food and starting to dissect it that way a little bit, now you know that I'm not here to tell you that you need to be perfect and you can only eat whole foods and blah, blah, blah. But like I'm saying, if you can look at your food and go, okay, I'm going to choose in this meal, fuck it, I don't care. I want the cheese bread with my smoky. That's what I want. Perfect, great, love it. Or some days you might be like, nah, I'm going to have it on lettuce. I'm going to cut it up. I'm going to make a salad out of it because I would rather have that. I want the nutrients from this food, knowing what my cycle is like, knowing that I'm feeling a little bit more inflamed, knowing that my workouts are required something different from me, knowing that my stress levels are different or whatever, right? So I'm going to encourage you to just take a look at the nutrient density of the food that you're consuming this week, because like I said, your calories, your numbers are solid. You're doing really good there. And now if you can bring it into the nutrient density, you're going to have more fiber, more nutrients, phyto and animal-based nutrients. And then you can start to dial that in too and be like really strategic and really purposeful in the foods you consume, because it's going to be based off of how much nutrients can you consume rather than hitting a carb goal or a protein goal, So I hope that makes sense. I hope that's valuable. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always here to support you and give you all the love and encouragement along the way. Talk to you soon.